welcome to another episode of ASAP, the Afrikan Social Activism Playbook. I am one of your hosts, T. Jamal, joined as always by my lovely sister, Michelee. What's going on, sis?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. You know, same old, same old. I'm feeling pretty decent today. My day is coming to an end, it's winding down. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know yours is just getting started. So how are you feeling
Yep.
this morning?
Just tipping off. I'm good. I'm good. Just my body is adjusting to so much stuff that I'm doing. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do to take care of your family. And
Yeah.
all of those things are important. So I will be fine. I am still in my prime. So I'll be good. I am
Right.
excited about what's going on in this discussion today. So let's see. Today we are going to be talking about, on our Straight Truth No Chaser, do Black people support Black-owned businesses? And it's interesting because this has become, and we talked about it a little bit earlier in the week, it's become more of a, I don't want to call it a fad, but it's become more of a topic of discussion openly, where people are talking about, yes, I want to proudly support other Black businesses. But for so long, I've heard Black people make the comments that they don't support Black businesses because of bad customer service, because of low quality products, because of this and that, and whatever other excuse they come up with about why they don't support it. And I just never hear them say the same thing about and they will allow a couple or even one bad experience at a Black owned business to not only write off that one business, which is also wrong, but to write off all other Black owned businesses as well. So I've had horrible customer service at McDonald's before. And I know anybody who's ever been to a McDonald's has probably had poor customer service at McDonald's before.
Right.
But I've never heard anybody say, I will never go to McDonald's again, nor have I heard anyone say, I will never go to another corporation that is owned by whatever amount of people because of that one bad experience. So it's the fact that, and we spoke about this just in our representation in the media, right? We as Black people feel responsible about how we are per the perspective that we are shown in, how we're perceived. And it's because if I'm on the news and people see me in a negative light, that negative light then starts to reflect on all other Black people, whether they know me or not, right? The same thing we do, we fall into that trap with Black-owned business where we paint a broad brush over everyone. We just assume that it's not going to be professional. We assume that it's going to be less quality. Like we talked about, even with Master P, having the noodles and the rice, and they are asking him about the ingredients. When they eat Success Rice and Cup of Noodles and have never asked about the ingredients or the manufacturing company. And, you know, we do this to ourselves, and it's annoying. And, you know, we have to really just break ourselves out of that habit. As a Black owned, as a Black entrepreneur, what are your thoughts on this?
I definitely see it. Like in my personal experience, I haven't necessarily experienced that, you know, with other people, as far as I know. I don't know, people might say it behind my back, but I mean, I have, you know, I hear a lot, and I'm constantly reminding people to just have patience and just, understanding. Not saying like accept bad business or, just spend your money and don't care how you treat it or whatever, that, because that's not always the case. I think, like you pointed out, it might be something, it might be customer service or, something. You can have a bad apple there. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't have to reflect on the entire business just because you have one person in there that gave you attitude or didn't speak or didn't ask you, did you need more napkins? You know what I mean? Like it's just so many other things that, like, I think a lot of us go into supporting Black businesses with the mindset, like, let me find out, let me find one thing that's wrong. And it's like we always have to publicize, like, you know um when it's a Black business, we have to publicize and advertise to everyone else, or try to convince everyone else not to support her. Like, let me give you a heads up, this business ain't, this Black owned business. I
Oh
tried to
my
give
God.
my bit, I tried to give my money, I tried to. And it's like, what are you
Yeah.
doing now though? Like, let someone else have their own experience, rather, because I feel that that prepares us to go into not just that one Black business that you talked about, but it prepares us to go into other Black businesses with this extra critical eye, like, oh, let me see what they got wrong, instead of focusing on what they have right. Because again, you're not going into other businesses that are not Black owned with that mindset.
And what you talked about there was word of mouth, right? And so word of mouth is one of the strongest forms of advertisement and marketing that you
Definitely.
can have.
Mm-hmm.
And for not only do we say, okay, I don't want to go to and support Black owned businesses, we deter other people from going, which is even worse.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that
Because now
that
you're
like
taking money, you taking potential, future customers from them. Like, it's fine if you don't ever want to go back, but for whatever reasons you have, but don't. What is the purpose? Again, we don't do that to other businesses. There have been plenty of times, I'm sure, people have bad shopping experiences at a Walmart or, wherever, and you don't go and be like, y'all don't go to Walmart no more. They didn't, I had a missing piece, or,
right.
something was
Yeah.
broken or damaged. Like, no, you'll keep going back. You have
And
patience with them.
even to talk about, you say it's fine if you don't, it's not fine if you don't. It's even
It's
worse
not
when you
right.
bad mouth it before
Hmm.
somebody else can even experience it.
Right.
Now, and this isn't like a blanket just support just because it's Black, right?
Right.
We're
Right.
not saying accept low quality. We're saying
Hmm.
have your standards, have,
Hmm.
and this is to the Black entrepreneurs, make sure that your standards of production and your standards are high, because there is such a perception of
Yeah.
us as Black owned business operators. We have to be extra vigilant and make sure that we offer quality products, that we offer the customer service, that we give that customer experience that that extra attention, because we want people to come back. Another note to Black owned businesses and Black banks, my thing is, we want Black owned businesses. We want to support them. The importance behind that is because we want the Black dollar to circulate in our community multiple times. We want to create employment opportunities. We want to create advancement opportunities. We want to stop complaining about not getting a seat at someone else's table, right? We want to create our own table. And if the business is Black owned, if the bank is Black owned, the the thought process behind that is that, okay, I should be able to advance in this company. Or about the bank, I should be able to, as a prospective Black entrepreneur, or as a already Black entrepreneur, I should have an easier time working with this bank with more favorable rates than I do with the larger, you know, owned banks, the
Hmm.
white banks. And
Right.
so, but if our Black owned businesses aren't doing that, if they aren't creating those if I get treated the same way by my black owned business boss as I do in corporate America, then we really haven't done anything. We've just recreated the same system with blackface on it. So we
Definitely.
have to be conscious of that as well when we go into ownership, when we go into business, to be intentional, to be conscious about why those businesses are necessary, why black owned businesses are necessary. So I believe that it's a two-way street. It has to be reciprocal. We have to have the intention when we start these businesses to put it in the communities where we are. Because what happens a lot of the times is we'll have a black owned business, but it'll be in a part of town where we aren't located. And then that money still isn't circulated in the black community, because if you bank with a non-black bank, if you have your business in a plaza or in a mall that's not owned by a black person, then that's automatically the money going out of the community. So there are, and that may not always be in our control, right? Because we may not have the cooperatives, which I encourage, that we as entrepreneurs come together and buy plazas, go buy a mini mall, a strip mall, and have our businesses in there so that we do own something, so that it is circulating. We have to make that effort. But on the case where there are startups, okay, you have your business in a plaza, it may not be black owned, but then we have to go over and beyond to find ways to make sure that our business is doing something to service the community as a whole, to make sure that when people hear, buy black or support black owned businesses, they see it more than just a phrase. They see it as more than just, okay, I'm doing this just because. Right? It has to be reciprocal on both sides, from the people as well as from the businesses themselves.
I want to so I think something, we placed very high standards on black people, especially trying to start businesses. And the thing is, I think it's unfair when we're not giving them the patience and the grace to develop and learn to make mistakes, because entrepreneurship is already something that a lot of us have not ever witnessed firsthand, right? And so if I'm trying to figure this thing out for the first time, I'm trying to break out and create a new lane, right, for my family, for myself, and people around me. I need people to actually be able and be willing to work with me, at least not, again, like if I trip up, if I make a mistake, if I don't have all the resources I need, if I don't have all the finances I need, to be at the level of already established businesses or business people who've, already been in practice and seen it, in throughout their families or, communities. That's very important. We also have to understand, to have these standards, for a lot of black businesses, because a lot of time, like I said, we're like new entrepreneurs, right? Coming up and you never witnessed it before. You have to figure all these things out. We don't have the resources and the finances and, just the know-how to be able to even compete, with other businesses that are already established. So when you want to talk about there's a guy I know, I saw him on the Breakfast Club. That's how I first knew about him. Devlin, I think Devlin something. He owns Saya somewhere in America, and so he does clothes and shoes. He's manufacturing himself, and he's constantly doing updates. Whatever he can, he's using his social media platform to give updates. And you don't see like a Nike or Adidas or nobody telling you, oh, well, this is coming out. You got 2 weeks. You want to put in a pre-order. He's giving people. This is his time too, while he's running his business, right? And people will complain in his comments, asking him questions that he's taken his time to deliver, all the news, give you updates, tell you all, showing you all kind of extra stuff that's coming up and all of this stuff. And then you won't even respect the man time and effort by just reading what he already posted, what he already
Right.
said, and I
Mhm.
see like and it's funny because he expresses his like frustration with it, is like, y'all don't read. And it's like, what more do you want from me? And we can't have that type of attitude. It's like, already,
Yeah.
because we're Black business, we're already told that we can't have that attitude, be frustrated with with customers who, if we're backed up. Like, I know I have seasons, like when I'm producing something, I'll have seasons where I'm really busy, if I'm pumping out like one product or a couple products, because I make everything by hand. Like, that's what I
Right.
do, right? I'm the only one. I'm the one that's doing the designing and the advertising, I'm buying all the materials, I'm packaging. I'm like, I have to do everything. Like, I'm sewing the threads together, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes I can get backed up, and I do my best to let people know, if I do have if it'll take a little more time, because of, a high volume of customers or something. But I don't have a team even to send out emails, to respond to emails as quickly. You know what I mean? If it's like a high number of emails or communication that's trying to get through, like, we have to understand that a lot of times it's not like we don't have that large team that other companies, that other established companies have the privilege, of
Yep.
having, so they can manage and run smoothly. And we just have to. I think it's very unfair to place that type of like certain expectations on us. Of course, we want good quality, but you are
Mhm.
not sitting there doing the same inspection for something that you would buy. Like, if it's someone that, because a lot of us, we can have a business where we're literally taking resources, like, they have warehouses or whatever, some services where you can buy or you can be selling stuff that, like, you're not necessarily making, but it's still your business, right? That's what stores do. That's what a corner store
Yep.
would do. They're getting all their products from somebody else. They're just selling it to you, right?
Yeah.
And then so you'll have people doing that, and it's just like, you're not questioning the same products that you would go to another store to get.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we do that just because the owner is Black? Like, I don't, it's just unfair. I
Yeah.
don't like it. I don't like it at
That
all.
expectation is unrealistic and unreasonable. And it that's why I like that age when we had apprenticeships, because
Mm,
I really believe that before you get into something, especially like you said, a lot of us are first time entrepreneurs. We don't
right,
learn about this type of thing in our formal education.
right.
Um, and honestly, going to college to learn how to be an entrepreneur is really a waste of money unless you are really, really in a business school that is going to be focused on practicum, is going to get you in the rooms with the movers and shakers and the different people that you definitely need to know to advance, which is not really the case in most situations. It's just a bunch of classes and you have some professors, and now, if your professors were like, Tyler Perry and Byron Allen and Master P, then I
Right.
would say go to that school.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
but we're talking about, just regular people, and they may have some connections, but it's not always guaranteed that those things work out that way. But apprenticeships of actual successful business owners in a local area where we have the Black chambers of commerce, and the way that I see even the Atlanta Black Chamber of Commerce, the way they operate, they have these committees based on industry, and they actually help one another. They help market one another. It's not competitive. It is more cooperative. Okay, we all have a marketing business, or we all have a holistic health business, or we all are nonprofits. They actually talk to one another and say, all right, these are the things that I've done. Just
Mm,
having that type of group of people to encourage you not only to advance and to continue to progress, but to keep going. Because like you
yeah.
said, it's not easy. You
At all.
are the sole proprietor in most cases, where you are holding down the fort alone. and it gets scary, it gets lonely. It is, you know what I mean? It's just a different type of environment, a different energy than, knowing that there's going to be a check direct deposited into your
Exactly.
account on
You don't
Friday.
have that security blanket anymore.
And the thing is, so many people see you as a business owner. They just assume that you have money. They assume that because you have a store that you are doing very well.
Right.
Sometimes your overhead eats up every little bit of what you were going to take,
Yeah.
and you get left with nothing. Like, I love watching Shark Tank because you hear all of the different things in those proposals, where how much the person is making, how much they invested before they ask for another investment, how much they actually get paid a salary. Most of the times the people go on there, they're not making salary. All they're doing is breaking even just
Right.
enough to keep the business operable and then to live somewhere.
That's
Right.
the thing. Yeah.
And so that right there, just even seeing all of that as a part of being an entrepreneurship, and then put Black on top of that, put being Black on top of all of that, it just makes it that much more difficult. We
Right.
do have a question that I wanted to answer. It says, do you see the injustices as a subliminal positive push toward the Black community support each other? Without the injustices, would we have seen such a major push for solidarity?
Now I do. I see the positive to, like the controversy was going on, in the outside world with, as far as us being discriminated against, or just different injustices being done, and that's making people boycott non-Black owned businesses, and so there's been, when they have like a blackout or something, like let's find Black alternatives. There is a positive to that, because now people are shining the light on, and finally discovering that Black people own a lot of different types of businesses, right? And can supply everything else that you need. And we just haven't been paying attention to it. And I think of it like how it was like during segregation, right? When all we had was us. We weren't able to, to shop, to be in those spaces, and to, we had to depend on each other. And because I always, just when I was just learning about integration and stuff, and I was just, yeah, and I was just like, why wouldn't they just stay, together? Why wouldn't they just keep their own, Black companies and, factories and transportation? Like, why would you not just keep your own? And I don't know. I think so. I think there was a positive to not being accepted into others, or even with, like, when it comes to like the Negro Leagues, and all kind of stuff like that. I'm like, we could have been flourishing at this point, because and they were doing very well before they decided to jump
The
in the other
thing
way.
is, we are always, if you look at Black people, especially in America, our most productive time periods are some of the most divisive. When we have our backs against the wall is when our ingenuity just wakes up. And so, like, if you look at people, or if you listen to people, or you read people talk about when schools were segregated, our students were learning above and beyond. Like, the performance in those schools weren't low. What we were asking for was equal resources and
Right.
funding. So even what you were just talking about with segregation, like, the movement was never calling for integration. Integration was never something that the civil rights activists ever asked for. I had the opportunity to ride on a bus to Selma with Dr. C.T. Vivian, and he was talking about they never actually asked for integration. It was all about desegregation. And what happened was, they pulled the okey doke on people, and they
Right.
bamboozled us into thinking that we were asking for integration. Because
Right.
what
Like,
they'll
let me
do
be
is
with
they'll
you.
say, you'll say, I want a banana. They'll say, you can't have this orange. You can't have this orange. You cannot have this orange. Then we start saying, well, why can't I have the orange? And remembering that the first thing we asked for was a banana. They
That
just stopped.
banana.
They didn't even talk about the banana.
Yeah.
They took that all the way off the table and put the orange in front of us. Now we're mad because they're keeping the orange away, but we don't even want the orange. We want the banana. They just stopped talking about the banana, though. They stopped
Right.
Desegregation became not a part of the conversation at all. They just started to
Mhm.
tell us that they didn't want to integrate. We were like,
Right.
hold on, were we asking for that? No.
Right.
But the thing is, you can fool the general public into believing that that's what we were fighting for from the beginning when the leaders weren't saying that. And so
Right.
back to what we're talking about right now, because things are so heated, because we are being presented with the truth, right? It is it's pulling us back to that point where, okay, we have to stick together, which is what we should have always been doing. But sometimes you have to put your feet to the fire to realize, oh, okay, it's hot. I have to keep moving. I have to keep, this just doesn't end at one goal getting accomplished. It doesn't
Yeah.
just end because things feel a little bit better. Like when the sun is shining, there's still work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing what we need to build right now when we're talking about sustainability and like economic empowerment. We need to take the momentum of what's happening in the dark times and make sure that when we get on the other side, that we don't just start chilling, because that's what
Right.
happens. We start
Exactly.
chilling, we start supporting other people's businesses, we
And you
stop.
lose sight of your
Yes,
original purpose. That
exactly.
was the thing. I was listening to Diane Nash talk about how actually no, was it Diane Nash? I think yeah, it was her talking about just, their experiences as young people, or just Black people in being like working and just living their lives, right? And then it would feel so humiliating and degrading to have to, to not be allowed into certain spaces, and that's just to operate, just to do regular things, right, on your everyday. And you can't even, if you don't have a Black owned something, then you're just, I don't know. I can understand how they would feel like left, not just left out, like I want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with me, again, because it wasn't about them wanting to join with them. It was just that what they either didn't have and should have been provided, like, like if the city is providing certain resources, or so the city is supplying or is responsible for fixing certain things, right? Like when you think about like potholes and all kinds of stuff, these people are paying their taxes, they're working, they're doing all this stuff, but they are being shorted on the resources. In their school, they're getting secondhand resources, and so they did want, the same opportunities, equal opportunities, not necessarily to sit with who didn't want to sit with them. But
Mm-hmm.
I think when we get comfortable, again, we get too comfortable when we are allowed, and I don't even want to say like allowed, but now when you are not being stopped from entering certain spaces, now we get comfortable with what they have instead of
Yep.
still keeping in mind, with these new resources, with this new reach, let us create our own, or let us get ours up to the standard of quality that we want and need, instead of just being comfortable sitting right there, because I think there is we don't question enough. Like I think when we look around, and especially experiencing a lot of discrimination and abuse from non-Black people who have businesses, who own businesses in our neighborhoods, right? They come and make their money in our neighborhoods, then go home to their neighborhoods, keep that money flowing in their neighborhoods, right? And they're funding their children, their families, and their community. But ours, we don't even question why we don't, why we can't replace those businesses, or why we can't.
And I saw a meme that said the Black community isn't poor, and it showed all of those businesses that you talked about, because it was like, why would all these other people put their businesses in our communities if we were so poor?
We gonna buy, we gonna spend.
We consume so much. And again, like putting people on game, when you buy Jordans, like let's say if you have a job, you got a job where you can afford Jordans, and you buy a couple of pairs a year. How about you buy one pair and then you buy stock in Nike with the same amount of money that you were going to buy the Jordans for? It's that small little thing, just doing those small little steps will change the conversation. It'll change us from being consumers to owners. And with everybody being owners on some level, we can change the mindset, the mentality, because when we talk about supporting Black business, we also, as the consumers of Black business, have to stop going in there thinking that we're going to get a discount. How are we going to expect them to grow? Exactly. If we want them to grow to a point where they can make a significant dent in the unemployment rate in our communities. Think about that. If we had Black-owned corporations, we could control the narrative and control the pace at which Black people are unemployed.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
We would have that power. We have it now, but it's also on the consumer to say, all right, I'm going to make the sacrifice. And it's not really even a sacrifice, because you don't go to Macy's and ask for a discount unless they're having a sale. You go in, you pay the price that is on the ticket, and then you leave. So when you go into a Black-owned store, a Black-owned business, you pay the price so that that company can expand, so they can grow, and they'll be able to. And like what I was talking about with the responsibility on the businesses, I'm not holding that expectation of the startups to be able to fully engage in, helping out the community. They have to get on their feet first. I just want Black-owned entrepreneurs to have that in mind, have that to be the intention from the beginning, so that it can be written into what you do once you advance. But us as the consumers as well, we have to support to make sure that they are able to advance, that they get that opportunity to be able to make that significant dent in unemployment, so that they can create job opportunities. They can create advancement opportunities. They can create those apprenticeships so that other people can be trained in that industry. So much opportunity goes to the wayside because we are not supporting one another. There's so much potential there. We have to do much better.
Yeah. And even think from the perspective, like, if it were you that were creating a business, or, just trying to do something, right? And then you get you don't even get the business, right? You get people, again, we talked about how if someone has one bad experience in a Black-owned business, you go and persuade your friends and family not to shop there, not to buy, not to support that business. But so think about just even what that does to the person that, to the owner or the person. It doesn't even have to be like a full-fledged business. It doesn't have to be like a brick and mortar, type thing, or, fully established, but providing a service, like whatever you do, right? Working for yourself. That you already have to think like that is something hard. And yes, that's something that they chose to do, right? But you see where that money will go. You see what their intentions, well, if you know the person, you should know what their intentions are. And a lot of times, even when we talk about expecting discounts and stuff like that, I see people complaining about, like, I'm not gonna buy a $50 shirt that just say, just got a word across it. You will go and buy a $50, $100 shirt that don't say nothing because it got a certain tag on it, right? And if you're not that type of, if that's not your price point, like, I know when I create certain things and I price it at a certain point, everybody that I know is not going to buy that product. Everybody that I know don't, are not my target audience. I'm not expecting even the majority of people that I know that who are related to me, who know me personally. Those are not the people necessarily who I'm marketing to, who I'm creating things for, right? And so, and that's also another thing. A lot of us, like, newer, what Black entrepreneurs have to learn also, what any like entrepreneur will have to learn, that everybody around you is not going to support, and everybody around you is not your target audience, right? But
And
we
don't
also
be
have
discouraged by that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't kill that spirit, and don't let that spirit be killed, inside of you, if you are looking at that. But we just have to look at, yeah, I mean, it's so many other little factors in it, but I think it's, it can be discouraging when other people
Yeah.
are, like, just saying, because it's not even a quality. Like, I've seen, you can have a shirt with just something screen printed, an image, your original design screen printed on the shirt, and people are like, I'm not gonna pay $50 for that. Well, if you're not gonna pay $50 for a shirt, take your butt to Walmart or wherever you shop for your cheaper shirts then. Okay, so you don't have to put down that business. There are people who spend $50 for a shirt with a simple image or a word printed across it.
Yep.
That is not a reason for you to down that business, right? If that's not your price point, then you don't have to buy it. If that's someone who you want to support, you can talk to your friends who do buy, who that is, that's in their price range. You can wait until they have a sale. A lot of us have sales, like, and we have sales pretty often. I'm constantly putting stuff on discount, and I do that for the people who I know want to support me, but I'm not necessarily making it for them. Right. So I'm like, I'll give them a little, I create coupons, I give them, discounts all the time. And I'm doing that for you even, and then sometimes, it's different things that I want to do, like part of me giving back, or part of me wanting to kind of expand, and expose other people, to what I'm doing. But if that's not your price point, you don't have to put it down. We're not looking at other businesses who are, making $500. We're not even talking about $50, $500 shirt with nothing printed on it or just a word on it.
If you go in Foot Locker and you got a shirt that says "Just Do It" with a Nike check, that's $60.
That's what I'm saying. Right?
And so
so it's just that's no excuse to be like, well, Black-owned businesses always want to sell something for a higher price. Like, it's, if that's not your price point, you can, there are other businesses. There are other people
you cannot buy, but you also don't have to say anything either. Like, if you don't have anything good to say, just
don't say it at all.
Don't talk anything at all. Just don't speak, because you'll end up sounding foolish. Because I've seen people buy $60 shirts from other companies and they don't say anything about it, or they don't buy the $60 shirt from Nike, but they still don't say anything about it. So take that same lesson, and if you're not going to buy the $60 shirt from a Black-owned company, just don't say anything about it. See it, you're like, okay, that's not me.
Right.
And then go on.
I'll pass it up all the time. I window shop. Like, I can, I go to the mall, everything I see, I'll be like, oh, that's nice. And I might look at the tag, be like, I don't necessarily want to pay that right now, or, I'm good, and that's fine. I don't have to be like, oh, you know what? Mango or whatever, Zara, whatever, they charge a lot for this and that. Like, I would go to a store that's in my price range, or whatever I want to pay for. I can wait until they have these certain items on sale. There are so many other ways to avoid it, but you do not have to put these businesses down, especially when it comes to us. This is something that we need. If, as a Black business owner, I would employ Black people first. who I'm giving back to is my
Yep.
Black community, right? So why would you want to like why would you want to put us down? I don't get
I
it. It's just
mean, it's completely baffling, but it's definitely something that needs to be discussed over and over again until we get ourselves out of this mentality. But we can
definitely.
take this moment where people are really starting to be serious about supporting it. We have to make
Hmm.
sure that this doesn't just die in this moment, though. We have to
Right.
make sure that we mobilize on this and we keep this momentum.
Hmm.
Um, in our highlight reel, I wanted to talk about Byron Allen. And I remember I've seen this guy a lot, right?
Hmm.
And I've seen him on shows on TV. Like he hosts this show. He was a comedian.
Right.
And then I started hearing his name ringing around and he bought the Weather Channel. I was like, the Weather Channel is owned by a Black man? And it was
Hmm.
just like, okay, that's major. Cause the Weather Channel, I have an app on my phone. I have all these things. And, you know,
Right.
he had to buy it from NBC Universal. So I was like, okay, so he has some capital, he has some power. But he also owns and produces other television networks, local markets. He also
Hmm.
produces a lot of court TV shows, um, and a lot of other shows that he produces. And I think it's just incredible to be able to see somebody, rise up in the ranks like that.
Yeah.
And, it's important to see people, especially like people moving in the background, because
Hmm.
we kind of see our artists and our athletes who become like very big mogul type figures, and like people know them and follow along with their journey. But there are
Right.
also people moving in the background and just quietly, just
Hmm.
doing things. And
Yeah.
it's important for us to be exposed to those people as well, because like we continuously say, exposure to new opportunities or new possibilities will open up people's vision to not limit themselves.
Right.
So what is it that you know about Byron Allen?
Well, I did hear a lot about him, buying different channels. He owns several, like local television channels and things. And especially he was getting a lot of buzz earlier this year with the Comcast. He was suing Comcast for discrimination. He was, I think they were trying to block him. Well, they weren't showing his, the shows or whatever from his channels or something like that. I forgot what the exact, the actual discussion was, what they were discriminating against him
Hmm.
for. But I thought it was very important though, what he was fighting for, right? Like he was saying basically, it would be rolling back like what was put in the Constitution to, kind of protect us from being discriminated against, right? Because we
Yeah.
know a lot of times it's not going to be exactly worded, like very clearly why we're being discriminated against, but we already know, what it is. And I know he's a serial entrepreneur. Well, he stays in that area, I believe, in that industry with entertainment. He has his own entertainment company where he purchased all of these different channels. Like you said, the Weather Channel he purchased for like 300 million. That was a few years ago. Um, Disney channels, I believe, like some channels and stuff that Disney sold, and
And some Fox
um,
Sports channels as
right,
well.
and he had his own show. Like he was actually hosting a couple shows
Hmm.
of his own, and I've heard of him being just a working behind the scenes, like really just taking control, in that realm, which is important, and I think a lot of times we don't consider when people make it at a certain level, like financially or whatever, or in their career, that they experience, like even higher level of discrimination, right? Like than we
Yeah.
do on the street, because he's being shown clearly, and that's what this case showed. Is like, you know, clearly people are telling him like you don't belong here, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, because he had the money. Even there was a case with Ice Cube and I think it was Ice Cube, some other entertainers or celebrities who have money, and they were trying to buy some channels, and they
Mm-hmm.
were being discriminated against pretty much like sort of like the same for the
Yeah.
same
And
reason.
and that's the thing. Like what I liked about Byron Allen's case, again, when we talk about not just being in it for self, his case wasn't just about his specific media
Right,
group. It was
right.
about African American media companies.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have benefited everyone, like every one of us coming up behind had, that case actually been won. And
Right.
even it still affects us today because it was not won, because we see that they really don't consider us to be a part of that group. We talk about um, Black people wanting to own television channels, Black people wanting to buy radio networks, Black
Yeah.
people wanting to buy NFL and NBA teams. There is a group of people that have to decide to let us in, even if
Yeah.
we have the funds. So
Right.
understanding what a mogul is and what having a seat at the table can do. It's not
Mm-hmm.
enough to just have the money. We have to, and this is what I'm talking about, being intentional about when you are a Black entrepreneur, when you are creating something, have the intention of the community in mind, because
Yes.
that one uplifting experience can lift up, that one rising tide can lift all of these boats.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make sure, we actually support them, we actually get them to the place, and really acknowledging somebody like Byron Allen, who pretty much moves in silence. Like people
Yeah.
know him. He's not like an unknown entity, but he isn't a household name, I would say. He's
Yeah.
not like the person that everybody is, he's not on the tip of everyone's tongue, but it's important to highlight people like him who is behind the scenes doing work, buying networks, doing things, putting shows on television, fighting the good fight in court to make sure that we
Right.
get our channels and shows distributed fairly.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are very necessary, and it's important to know the people who are fighting on our behalf, which is
Definitely.
another reason that we do this show. It's good to know those plays as well. We need the political plays. We need the community development plays. We also need the economic plays. We need to
Yeah.
know all of those as well. And diving from Byron Allen into We Buy Black. And I was just on their website, the We Buy Black website. I'm pretty sure it's just webuyblack.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's just webuyblack.com. And they are the largest conglomerate of like Black owned businesses. And they have Black owned products that you can buy directly from their website. And they just promote Black owned businesses. And
Right.
they encourage us as Black people to buy those products, to buy those, to support those services, so that we know what exists, because sometimes we just don't know. Like Michelee is
Yeah.
always talking about, she buys Black owned washing powder. She buys Black owned this, Black owned that, and has it shipped to her all the way in the Middle East in Qatar. And just being very intentional about what she buys and how she purchases. My wife and I, we do the same thing. We make sure that we are very intentional about certain things that we buy in our household, that we have, full control over, that it's a Black owned business. On the topic of We Buy Black, what do you know about them, or how were you introduced to them?
I've heard about them. I think I think I heard about them pretty early on. Like, I
Mhm.
do intentionally like search for black, well, black owned businesses and like directories and stuff to find out. So I knew of them when I was in the States.
Mhm.
I can't think exactly when they were established, but I found, I discovered them a while ago because you can also, as a black owned business, a business owner, you can get your business, posted to their website and stuff. So,
Yep.
I checked out those options and stuff. And, but yeah, I discovered like they have everything on there, literally from, you can find black owned businesses that make toilet paper, toothbrushes, laundry detergent, batteries, anything, socks, anything that you need. You can find it on there. And I love this. This is one of the first resources that I found, like that a big directory like that, which is very useful. So they started popping up. I remember like around, I think, when we were calling for the boycott, of Black Friday or something like that, a few years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that was around the first time I really started seeing them. And they've just grown. They're constantly advertising. Again, they highlight different black owned businesses. And again, like you said, encouraging other people, to shop and just consider all of these different resources that they provide. But I love it. I follow their page on Instagram, and so I'm always seeing, different advertisements and what they're doing and who they're highlighting. So I love it. I love it. We also
Yeah.
have another friend I mentioned yesterday. One of our friends, Jasmine from Georgia State, she created an
Mhm.
app, a phone application called the Black Wallet, where it's a black owned business directory as well. And she's getting a lot of traction and getting a lot of, she's been featured in magazines and all kinds and websites and stuff just this year. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No,
we're
that's
we're
dope.
growing with the. Mhm.
It's so important, and like we continuously say, there is space for everyone. Like the We Buy Blacks, the Black Wallet, the all the chambers of commerce, all these directories. We need all of them. We need,
Mhm.
it can't just be one solid location because everybody won't have access to or even, knowledge of all of them. But if you
Right.
have one, then maybe you can be linked to the other and they support one another. On the We Buy Black, they have like conferences. They did a
Mhm.
whole month of New Africa August where they were
Mhm.
just spotlighting different businesses and doing webinars. So it's
Mhm.
so much positivity happening. Like I keep saying, we have to make sure that this doesn't just stay in a moment of time, that we don't
Yeah.
just look back and say, oh, that was a cool little moment. We have to keep this momentum going and keep pushing to make sure that we're just represented, that we are supporting one another, that we are
Right.
serious about this, intentional about
Yes. And
everything that we do.
yeah, make it a priority. Like, starting with our children, just starting like from our habits, whatever, what's in reach, what you can, what you are able to, to access wherever you are, what you're able to afford, or, what's near you. Like I think we have to just really make it a priority. It takes sacrifice sometimes. Like you can
Mhm.
spend an extra dollar or two. You can drive an extra
Right.
mile. You know what I mean? Out of, from what the corner store that's not owned by a black business, but one a few blocks down is. You can go out of your way a little. Sometimes at least like we need to just
Yep.
make it a priority. Instead of finding excuses, finding reasons why, because when something does happen, a lot of times we will go out of our way because this one business, made us mad or, didn't treat us right. But I don't like how we wait sometimes for someone else to make us mad to start supporting each other.
Right.
We need to just
That.
make it a priority, make it something that you really want to do, make it something that we like. That's like when we talk about having an agenda and stuff, right? For our progress, we want
Mhm.
long term. We're not talking about just for 2020 or just for
Right.
this boycotting season, this protesting season. we are talking about like for a lifetime, what do we need to see? We need to build our economy, right? We have the power. We have buying power. We spend like a lot. We spend a lot of money. We spend.
Yes.
They were saying like trillions of dollars and stuff. You know, like we.
Coming out of the Black community that, like I
Yes.
said, the Black community is not impoverished. We we need to redirect all of this wealth. And it can be redirected in a way where it actually comes right back to us. Like if we're giving Nike and Adidas and whoever else and Gucci and all these other companies, even Fashion Nova, we're giving them all these millions and billions and trillions of dollars. Imagine if FUBU, if we just lifted that up to the level of Nike.
Yeah.
The amount of space that would be created, and it's just exposing people to the possibilities. Black-owned businesses have the potential to not only create boardrooms full of Black-owned execs, but also create job opportunities where we're looking at, oh man, why is this community so downtrodden? Well, not anymore, because the gentrification that's happening is coming from this Black-owned corporation.
Right.
The apartment complex is owned by this Black group. The housing project that's happening, that's starting up to build 30 houses, is going to be built by a Black construction company. Black plumbing. All of these opportunities, like we said, government contracts for these types of things. Like, it's not just products and services. There are Black-owned businesses that do all types of things. The possibilities that exist within that will allow us to be able to do so much more and advance so much, and really just sustain that wealth, and not always look outward. Okay, I need this type of skill. Well, that skill exists in your community. It's here. That person knows how to do this. That person owns this type of business. And just knowing all of these types of things. So it's just very important, right? And this isn't going to be our last time covering, just supporting Black-owned businesses and economic empowerment. Like, there are going to be days where we talk about the community development. It's going to be days where we talk about the political development. And there are going to be days where we talk about the economic development. Those three keys right there are going to be huge elements in the Afrikan Social Activism Playbook. And it's just very, very important for us to be attentive of, what moves are being made, who's doing what, and what the possibilities are.
Right. And that's, and also just, I'm always thinking to, also, just think about the fact that, like, we don't want it to always have to be labeled this, right? We don't want, it's not just the point to just say, this is Black owned, that's Black owned. But it is important to see, and to know that it is, because we want to know, who to support and, and things like that. But we also want to, we can, and we should still be trying to get everybody else money too. Because again, people come in our neighborhoods and we spend all our money with them. We can establish businesses in other people's communities. We can establish, businesses and promote, advertise to other people so that it won't, we won't.
That's why. Yeah, that's why I love the fact that Byron Allen bought the Weather Channel.
I'm telling you, because don't nobody know.
The Weather Channel.
Right.
And everybody, because it's phones that come with the Weather Channel on it as the weather app on the phone pre-installed. So by virtue of just having that phone, people everywhere are supporting that business and keeping it up. Right. Yep. And so those things are important. So, like she said, we need other people's dollars too, because we are giving other people our dollars.
all the
So,
time.
it's definitely reasonable for us to have things that get sold to everybody. Super Soaker, started and owned and invented by a black man. Everybody had a Super Soaker. Everybody did. It didn't matter what you were. Every child had a Super Soaker in the 90s. And so we need businesses that expand like that as well. We need targeted businesses for our products that are specifically black, but we also need to have business models and businesses that can get money from outside of our community to bring into our community, because we're doing that for them. We're taking money out of our community and taking it into theirs and building it. So we have to see the same opportunities for us as well. Now, we mentioned this before, and I just wanted to talk about this film, Princess and the Frog, Disney's Princess and the Frog, which got touted as, oh my God, it's the first black Disney princess.
Princess.
And, you know, they were selling all these Princess Tiana dolls and all this Princess Tiana this and that. I'll let you go first. How do you feel about this film?
I did like it actually. Even as it was out when I was an adult, but so I enjoyed it. You know, I like my little cartoon little princess movies. So I enjoyed it. I did enjoy seeing that Anika Noni Rose, and her singing and everything. It was very entertaining, right? And I thought it was a cute story. You know, I thought it was kind of cute. And just listening to when you pointed out like before, like 85% of the movie they are frogs. So like you don't even see a black princess most
Princess
of the time. You don't see a black.
Tiana.
Yeah, but I like the storyline like of who she was and her family, the family she came from, like how ambitious she was. You know, she was a young entrepreneur. She was trying to hustle up, get her money up so she could start her business, you know, start
I
her
did
restaurant.
appreciate that. I
So
appreciated
yeah, I
that
like
she was
the
an
story.
entrepreneur. Her father was an entrepreneur. Her father was very supportive, kind of built her to be this, you know, strong young woman. All of that was cool. But for the movie to be advertised to be about the first black Disney princess, and first of all, the original story of the Princess and the Frog is for her, the princess, to kiss the frog and turn
And he turned.
the prince back into a man.
Mm-hmm.
She kisses the frog, turns into a frog, which is signifying the fact that she wasn't a princess. That's what the film magic was saying. Because she wasn't a princess, she didn't have the power to turn him into the prince that he was supposed to be. It turned her into a frog. So we go throughout this movie, these frogs, and they are in the swamp with all these other animals. Okay, here we go again. Another black movie where it's surrounded with animals. So then, just like the Lion King, no people exist. Now, the people that exist in The Princess and the Frog, her friend is actually like the princess of Mardi Gras. And that's the princess element in the film, because she was wearing the crown that her friend, a white woman, gave her. She
And
was
the
the
prince
real
was like, "Why
princess.
you didn't tell me you wasn't a real princess?"
Right. So the prince convinces Tiana to kiss him because he sees the crown that she's borrowing from her white friend, and they both stay frogs until her white friend has to find them and kiss both of them, and then they turn back human. So there's a white savior at the end of this movie. Problematic for me.
You know,
And
for it to
then
be Disney, you already know what it's about to be, though.
yeah, but it's, I guess, but I'm still not giving it a pass. Like it doesn't get a pass in my book. It was it was tokenism at best, because they purposely, and you can hear interviews of people like the prince isn't black, he's not white, he's not anything. We don't know what country he comes from, and
Macedonia, I think.
they said they intentionally made him racially ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
Why? But why?
That was
Like why?
yeah, I don't know why.
Why
That's an
was that
interesting.
necessary? Why did the black princess? Because Esmeralda, what's the girl's name? Little Mermaid, Ariel, who Cinderella, who else?
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel. They all have white mates. They're white women. So why couldn't this first black princess have a
Mm-hmm.
black man? Why did he have to be
Yeah,
racially ambiguous? Why is
that
that
would have made
so
sense.
discomforting to see
Yeah.
two black people in love in this cartoon? Is
Well, that
that
would
too
have been too
controversial?
black
It's
now. Come
too
on now.
bold.
You know,
Is
yeah,
it?
that would have been, you already know. That's not, come
It's
on
too
now.
much.
That's
It's
not what they were trying
overload.
to do. Because then
It's
you'll get a black
overload.
princess and a black prince. Come on, you know you can't have all
Right.
that. Now they one
With
Disney
black
film.
royalty.
Slow your
So
roll. Slow your roll.
slow
You're
my
asking
roll
for too much. You're asking for too
until
much
we
for them
get
right now.
Black Panther and Black is King,
Right.
and which are, Disney making up for the Lion King and Princess and the Frog.
Right.
That's their reparations for those two horrible incidents. So it's just
Right.
it's just out. When I show this movie to my children and to my nieces and to my nephews, I'm always like a voice in the background. Yeah, ha ha ha. That part was funny. But did you see
Right.
this? Like
Okay.
these types of films have to come with commentary of,
Yeah.
all right, do not just look at this as another thing, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason that we are not being marketed. There was a
Mm-hmm.
couple on the Breakfast Club. I haven't watched the interview yet, but they were talking about how black love is revolutionary. Just seeing a black man and a black woman together is revolutionary, because
Yeah.
the images that they continuously show us on TV, you start to see it in commercials
Yeah.
and in everywhere, where anytime you see a black person as the star of a movie, like, and not a black movie or not a romantic comedy or not a comedy on TV, usually you see the black lead dating white people.
Mhm.
You see it in Scandal. You see
Yeah.
it in that Tay Diggs show. You see it in anytime there's a black lead in a drama, they have to be dating somebody outside their race. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that every mixed couple, every interracial couple is wrong. I'm
Mhm.
saying, why is it every time that we're in dramas or any type of serious roles, we're in these interracial relationships? What
But
is
that's
being
it,
pushed?
but that's what I'm saying though, and that's why it's a lot of controversy around just, just the symbolism around, even when you get to what level, the level of success you reach, and is said, especially for a lot of black men, is like when they reach a certain level, they got to get the, even Byron Allen got his wife is white,
Mm-hmm.
like when you look at a lot of um a lot like between athletes, entertainers, or other business people who've made it to a certain level, it's like this image, it tends to be, a lot of, that same image. And I wonder, is there some, I know, I'm not going to judge. I definitely wouldn't judge everyone, um, with the same idea. That's not what we're doing. It's saying
Mm-hmm.
that this is what it is. This is why, or that they have something wrong with them, or they think something of themselves. Like some people do make a genuine connection with somebody that happens to not be, of their same um, race, group, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it happens, but I just am very wary of the symbolism in the media of it being overly pushed. And it's
I
like,
agree with that
okay,
couple saying that is revolutionary, though. That is
mm-hmm,
revolutionary. And that's like how I think myself. Like I've always said, I am gonna marry a black man. Like, and I know, because and I'm thinking about for my family, for the
mm-hmm,
children that I want, to bring up in other people around us, not about what they will think, but about establishing that image of a positive, strong, unified
Right.
Black family.
The
That
fact
is
that it
important. That
exists.
is something that needs, yeah, because
Hmm.
we see a lot of our homes broken. And it's not
Right.
that they're broken, like, mixed up with other, it's not like interracial dating is the enemy or is the cause of that, but we have broken families for several other reasons, right? And
Hmm.
so I think it is important, to show that, show that Black love is revolutionary.
Yep.
It does, it's a great symbol. It's something that we need to show more of. It's important.
Definitely. Yep. So I wanted to make sure that we end the episode with the For the Culture, just talking about economic empowerment and the importance of it. This, like I said, this isn't going to be the last time that we talk about this. We're going to be spotlighting and highlighting a lot of different moguls. And I really like talking about moguls, both known and unknown entities, because they all are very important in the way that they move and what they represent, and just the exposure to them and the possibilities and the realms that they, how they gain their capital. So many other industries, there
Hmm.
are real estate moguls, there are fashion moguls, there are music moguls, there are sports
Right.
moguls, and we have all of them within our communities, and we just aren't aware of all of them. When we had our Black Wall Streets and when all of us lived in the same neighborhoods, we had access to these people. We knew them.
Yeah.
We knew the
Yeah.
Black doctors. We knew the Black lawyers. We knew the
Hmm.
Black business people. So we saw those images and we saw them as possible. So now we're going to use this platform to highlight and spotlight what is possible, what is not what happened, what is happening. We're definitely going to continue to talk about what happened, to learn from that as well. But there are always and still things that are happening that we're not always aware of as well. And so we can be inspired by that just as much, because understanding that because you can say, oh man, but that was back then. It was probably this that kind of assisted. But understanding that things are happening right now, there's no excuse of, well, that was a different time, or well, that was
Right.
this, or that was that.
Right.
Nope, it was
Mhm.
right now. And that means if
Mhm.
they did it, we can do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
It's,
drawing on that inspiration.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's
Michelee,
definitely. Go ahead, ask me. You can
no,
ask me
go.
something.
Go. Mm-mm.
No, that's definitely just so important. And even when we would try to make that comparison, or just trying to figure out, like, what they might have been experiencing. We are experiencing terror right now. Like, we look at
Yes.
what our ancestors went through, and and how they had to escape the terror. That's how we migrated to all these different parts of the country. You know, a lot of our ancestors, a lot of our elders were fleeing from the terror that they were experiencing there, but they still made something of themselves, right? They still
Mhm.
established their own communities and businesses and all kind of things. Um,
Yep.
and we have the same resources. We have even more access to resources and opportunities that they didn't even have. So we really don't have an excuse. Again, we have to make it a priority. That should
Yep.
be the first thing on your mind, right? Like, it's thinking of how you can help your community today, how you can help them this week, or like if you need to write it in the journal, in the planner, you know what I mean, to like remind yourself until it becomes, a habit, until it's something that you're automatically thinking of, or something that you don't have to think about. You're just automatically going to do it, because
Yep.
that's we're going to need capital to move, like when we talk about political, getting behind um politicians, or whatever, like whoever we need to push what our agendas, or um whatever we need to build our own capital to, I mean, for everything. That's what I mean. This
Mhm.
whole, we already know that whole society just runs off money. The whole world, we
Yep.
running off of money. And what power do we have if we don't even have the sense to pool our resources? The money that we make, we are tax-paying citizens. We are, you know what I mean? We pull in money for everybody else, but if we're not building ourselves, like, what are we really doing?
Exactly.
We don't want to
Let the
be
people know.
dependent.
Let the people know how they can help you and support your Black-owned business.
Well, I've been under construction. I've been, man, like we talked about earlier this episode. I've been working on, going back to the drawing board and stuff. Like this whole COVID situation had everybody just kind of sit down and like reanalyze and like, strategize and everything. So I've been doing my whole marketing and business courses and stuff. So I have been like, still working and everything. Thankfully, I have been still getting orders and doing a lot of custom orders and still selling things. So you can find me on mishmashworld.com on my website. I am uploading a lot of new products and stuff now. It's just been taking a long time to get some materials and stuff due to the whole pandemic and stuff. So you can also find me on the business Instagram at Mishmash World and on regular Twitter at Mishi the Maker.
Yeah, and one of the things, like, you can find African Unity on all social medias at African Unity and visit us on our website. But one of the ways that we are actually actualizing African Unity in an economic sense is we are starting a business loan part of the organization called Oladele Lending. And we will be not only doing business lending starting in 2021, but we will actually be doing courses, like workshops on how to start a business, workshops on how to do personal finance, so that we can learn economic development within our communities. And also the elements in the workshops is we're going to set you up to work on your business plan, have all your documents ready. So by the time you finish the workshop, the business and entrepreneur workshop, you're ready to and are qualified for a business loan from us. So there's no middleman. We're the workshop and the lender. So you will already, and we're coaching you along the way to make sure that you have everything in place so that you can adequately pay the money back and grow and expand your business. That's one of the things that we don't see a lot. We see a lot of Black-owned businesses, but we don't see a lot of expansion from the solopreneur level to the expansion of being a cooperative, to being a corporation. And we need more of those. So we appreciate your assistance. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please make sure to visit the website. All of those things about Oladele and how to get involved will be up within the next quarter of this year, because we are looking to launch officially Oladele next year, sometime in the second quarter. So just be on the lookout for that. And we will definitely be needing all of you guys' support and just your patronage. We appreciate you guys. We love you. Peace.